All right. Well, good morning, good afternoon, whatever the case may be for you. Here we go, we're getting into deep into the downhill side of class. Last few lectures for me to record, um, and last few chapters for you. A few weeks left. Things are going well. Here we go with chapter 12. We're going to go into chapter 12. And despite what many of you may think, there is there is sex in adulthood and later life, right? Your sexual being continues throughout your life. Um, Obviously, there's things that happen, but nowadays there's people have a healthy sex life right up until the time, way into old age. So we talk about it, early adulthood, and the things we talked about. You'll see some of that. How marriage in the United States and the trends of marriage and divorce, etc. Sexuality with the aging population, right? So people are living longer, and if you want to have a fulfilling life, right? How do you manage to keep yourself sexually active or sexually happy, in that later life? As usual, here's your 10 questions with the 10 answers. I'm going to say again, just use these answers. Somebody's always throwing in their own. Um, Here's how we describe adulthood, right? 20 to 30s. Midlife is 30, begins in the 40s. Seniors are 65 and up. And now this is a fairly new designation of elders that are 85 and up. There's a lot of people living a lot longer. So this is a new even to me. So, so when I'm going to go through all of this, let me see here. Sorry, I'm going to catch up with that. Don't really have a whole lot to add to this. We're going to, the beginning of adulthood, we transition, right? From your teen years to becoming an adult, there's big things that are happening, right? You like moving on, maybe you're out of school. Many of you will be leaving the school world and moving into adulthood or putting a foot in both and attending school and starting a career and families and all that other stuff, right? That you weren't really doing in high school, right? In the old days, things were much different, right? By the time when you got out of high school, people just got married, they got a job, things are a lot different here, as you can see right here, right? So since 1950, when people were getting married in their very early 20s, and men were in their later 20s, but still, by the time they were 25, most people were married. Now in 2018, those figures have jumped 6 years, right? Now you're 30 for men and 28, 26 for women. Right. So as we live longer, all of those things happen for a multitude of reasons, right? Um, People are much more at ease with being single today, is a much more common occurrence than it was in the 50s, obviously. Uh, and during that time, there's many things, many different lifestyles to choose from. So here's a chart about who's living alone and who isn't. I'll let you look at that. And we talk about single person households around the world. And here's us, kind of in the middle, pretty much. And in Scandinavia, like the most people are like 47. So there's your first question. So as I said, we're much more people are much more apt to have casual sex within them they did in the 50s. Absolutely. Um, And that's changed obviously over the years and hookups and all that, right? Um, so a part of that, I think, was in the 50s. People got married to have sex, right? It was much more common. Anyway, here's meanings of casual sex, a lot of charts, serial monogamy. So I have a relationship with one person, and I stay with that person, whether that relationship goes on to be something else or not. While I'm in that relationship, I don't see anybody else, right? And then I move. Even if I break when I break up, I go to another monogamous relationship. Friends with benefits. Sometimes we just have sex with friends, and once in a while we'll have sex or share all kinds of things. Um, so these are non-monogamous relationships, right? Polyamory, wife swapping. This is something that's more common than most people think. It's funny. So, but it still has a general way to live, right? They, like it says, agreed upon rules. Cohabitation, we live together without being married, right? Um, and what does that mean? Mm, Uh, what that here we go again. Just what would that mean? Um, uh, so this is all about how the LGBTQ community that lives together, or there's no common laws. Before the marriage was legal, like you didn't have any rights as partners. Which is why gay marriage and things became so crucial. Living apart together. I just talked to my friend who's got married and is still doing this. They are a married couple. And they still have yet to combine their households because they had two separate households, and it's just not doesn't happen overnight. Um, Common law marriage, domestic partnerships, these are all legal terms to define relationships in the eyes of the law, the state, the government, obviously, right? Civil unions, same-sex marriages, we talked about this, registered partnerships. So it's all things to help protect couples that want to make sure they share the things and things are carried on in case of a tragedy. I, we're going to talk more about a little bit more about this later, right? But how do we meet people, right? How do we attracted to people? What happens? Integrating marriage, sexual well-being. I'm gonna try to move a little further here. Now we have heterogeneity, homogamy. These are all different types of relationships, right? So it doesn't matter. Now, here's a fairly modern concept of people that just they're couples and they're married, maybe, but they may not even see each other. Like their paths, they work. They're so into working and they have jobs that are so demanding. They're traveling. They cross paths once in a while. And so they may omit sex from their relationship. And it seems odd to me, but it does happen. Um, Variations of marriage, right? And what are the expectations of your peers, your community? Are you living, we've talked about this a lot. Are you living within the guidelines of your culture and meeting expectations of your families, etc.? We talk about social status and Hindu families, right? There's a caste system still out there in the world, and there's a caste system of sorts in here based on socioeconomic. This is the way it is, unfortunately. Uh, right. Oh, So there's cultures and religions that have more than polygamy, that they have more than one wife. Mm. And here, right, look at this. Until 1967, it was illegal for people of different races to marry in most states. Mm. No, we don't do this much. How often do you have sex? Um, and how does that feel? How does that factor into your aging, etc.? Um, some stuff about different countries, different marital things, right? Adultery, swinging, extramarital relationships, unfortunately, divorce. 40% of all marriages in the U.S. end in divorce. That's really a very high rate. It's too sad fact. And I don't know, and it says second marriages are more likely to fail than first marriages. I don't know, but does that mean people don't get married now and they just cohabitate? Or just have them stay single in relationships of some kind that we described earlier, right? Gay man, same-sex marriage. How's that support has changed over the years? How does you keep, like we talked, like you said, like you're getting older, but you still have sex drive, you still have this. So how do you maintain all of that? And how do you to keep your sexual well-being during your aging process, right? Ageism, yeah, discrimination against elders, older people, seniors, etc. Um, and your sexuality is a big piece of how you feel mentally, emotionally, physically. We've talked about that before. Um, it was saying if you're in good physical shape, if you're healthy, if you're you even at the elders of age 85 and over can have a sexual relations. Hmm. But there's a lot of other things that are going on. So just here's your three, typical things for thought, right? How do you feel about being married in general? About being single? Having a life partner to love you, with whom to live out your life? Do you want somebody like that? Are you gonna be monogamous? Um, and what do you do? What are you doing now to maintain it so that you will have a healthy sex life later? All right. That's chapter 12, adulthood and sexuality and adulthood in later life. As always, I'm available. Questions. Okay.